The call came just as the light was thinning, that uneasy hour when day hasn't decided whether it will stay or surrender. I was driving home on a road I've taken for decades, hands steady, mind quiet, when my phone rang. Unknown number. No name. No warning. I almost let it go. The voice on the other end didn't say hello. It didn't say my name. It said, "Ma'am, I found your daughter." Then a breath. Sharp. Rushed. Like the person speaking was afraid to waste air. "She's alive." Barely. I felt my grip lock around the steering wheel before I understood why. "Where?" I asked. My voice sounded calm, which surprised me. Calm has always been my camouflage. "In the woods. Near the old excavation site. She had your number in her wallet. You need to come now." The call ended. No explanation. No questions answered. Just a dead line and the sound of my own pulse climbing into my ears. I turned the car around without slowing. Gravel sprayed. Tires complained. I didn't apologize to the road. I didn't apologize to anyone. My mind narrowed to one fact and one fact only. My daughter was out there, hurt, and someone else had decided where she would be left. My name is Grace Holloway. I am 56 years old. I am a widow. I am a retired medical professional. None of that mattered anymore. Titles don't mean much when your child is alone and bleeding in the dark. As I drove faster than I should have, a single thought repeated itself with uncomfortable certainty. This wasn't random. You don't leave someone where no one goes by accident. You choose places like that. You choose silence. I've lived in this region my entire life. Same roads. Same bends. The kind of place where people recognize your vehicle before they recognize your face. After my husband died, I stayed because leaving felt like another kind of loss. I worked long shifts, learned how to stay composed while other people fell apart. Eventually, I learned how to be quiet without being invisible. People here describe me as dependable. The woman you call when things go wrong. What they don't say is that they keep a careful distance. Not dislike. Awareness. The kind that says she notices things. My grandfather taught me that. He used to say trouble doesn't announce itself, it studies you first. He survived by remembering patterns, not promises. As the trees thickened and the road narrowed, his voice came back to me with unsettling clarity. Because my daughter had married into a family that believed rules were suggestions and consequences were for other people. The dirt road appeared suddenly, barely visible, swallowed by brush and shadow. My headlights cut through fog that hadn't been there a mile ago. The old site hadn't been active in years. Everyone avoided it. That alone told me enough. My daughter Lily, my only child, was 32. Observant. Precise. The kind of woman who noticed when numbers didn't line up, when stories changed shape halfway through. She left this place young, drawn into a life that looked polished from the outside. Money has a way of smoothing edges until you stop seeing the cracks. After her wedding, the calls shortened. Visits became rare. Every question I asked was met with the same answer. "I'm fine, Mom." I wanted to believe her. Belief is easier than truth when truth demands action. As I drove deeper into the trees, certainty replaced fear. No one ends up injured and abandoned in a place like this without intention. Someone chose distance. Someone chose darkness. Someone assumed no one would come fast enough. I saw the truck before I saw the man. Parked crookedly near the tree line, engine off. He was pacing, hands shoved into his pockets, shoulders tight. I stopped hard and got out before the car fully settled. "Where is she?" I asked. He didn't hesitate. He just pointed. I ran. Branches snapped against my arms. Wet leaves slid beneath my shoes. I fell once, skinned my palms, and didn't slow. The air smelled like damp earth and rust. Then I saw her. A shape on the ground. Too still. Too small. For half a second, my mind rejected what my eyes were telling it. Then she moved. Just slightly. One eye opened, swollen, unfocused, and her lips parted. "Mom," she whispered. I dropped to my knees beside her. The world narrowed again, this time to breath and skin, and the careful distance my hands kept from what might be broken. Training takes over when panic tries to speak first. Her hair was matted with blood and dirt. Her face was bruised beyond recognition on one side. Her breathing was shallow, uneven, but it was there. She was alive. And as I looked at my daughter lying on the cold ground where someone had decided she would disappear, I understood with absolute clarity. Whatever happened next would change everything. I told myself not to rush. Panic makes clumsy hands, and clumsy hands make mistakes you can't undo. I checked Lily the way I'd been trained. Airway, breathing, circulation, counting seconds, watching her chest rise and fall like it was a fragile promise. Don't move, I said, keeping my voice low and even. I'm here. She tried anyway. Pain tore a sound out of her that didn't sound human. Her arm lay wrong, twisted in a way the body doesn't choose. I swallowed, kept my hands away from it. Years of discipline held me still. Grace, she whispered. She hadn't called me that since she was a teenager. It told me more than words could. Please listen. I am, I said. I'm listening. Her good eyes searched my face, not for comfort, but for understanding. No hospital, she said. You can't take me there. I shook my head without thinking. You need imaging. You need surgery. An ambulance is already on the way. She tightened her fingers in my sleeve with a strength that surprised me. They'll be waiting, she said. If I go there, this won't stop. I leaned closer. Who did this, Lily? Her mouth trembled. She closed her eyes like she was bracing herself against a wave. When she spoke, the name came out thin and careful like glass. My husband's mother. The words landed, but my mind didn't accept them at first. It tried to rearrange them into something less precise. Less dangerous. Say it again, I said softly. She said I didn't belong, Lily whispered. That my blood didn't fit their family. That I'd seen things I wasn't meant to see. The woods felt suddenly too close. Too quiet. Her mother-in-law was admired. Respected. The kind of woman whose smile opened doors and whose name appeared on plaques and donation lists. People like that aren't questioned. They're assumed. Why? I asked. Lily swallowed hard. I asked about money. That was all she needed to say. I'd seen it before, systems built on silence, protected by reputation. I felt something inside me cool and harden, not into rage, but into clarity. Sirens cut faintly through the trees. Lily's grip tightened again. They have people everywhere, she said, words breaking between breaths. Doctors. Administrators. Lawyers. She doesn't lose control. She removes problems. I looked at my daughter on the forest floor and understood something that had nothing to do with medicine. This wasn't a moment you hand over and hope for the best. This was a moment you choose. I stood and ran back toward the road. The man by the truck stopped pacing when he saw me. They're close, he said. Ambulance. Did you see anyone bring her here? I asked. He shook his head. No. I just heard breathing. Thought she was already gone. I lowered my voice. I'm taking my daughter home. He frowned. She needs a hospital. I know, I said. But if she goes there, she won't come back alive. He studied me for a long second, searching for hysteria, finding none. Then he nodded once. I'll tell them I was mistaken. I didn't thank him. Gratitude wastes time. When I got back to Lily, red and blue lights were beginning to thread through the trees. We moved slowly. Every step cost her. I supported her weight, talked her through breaths, eased her into the passenger seat like I used to when she was small and asleep. I buckled her in. My hands didn't shake. My heart did. I didn't turn on the headlights until the sight disappeared behind us. The sirens passed, confused, searching for a scene that no longer existed. I drove without speeding, without hesitation. Choices, once made, deserve commitment. For several minutes, Lily didn't speak. Her breathing steadied into something I could work with. I kept my eyes on the road, mapping turns by memory. Mom, she said finally. There's more. I know, I said. Tell me when you can. I found documents, she said. Accounts that don't make sense. Transfers routed through companies that don't exist. Shells, I said automatically. She nodded. I confronted her. I gave her a chance. The road curved. Trees leaned inward. The image formed without effort. An invitation, a drive, a place where conversations disappear. She suggested we talk somewhere quiet, Lily continued. Said it would be easier away from the house. I tightened my grip on the wheel. She brought you there. Yes. Silence filled the car, heavy and final. She left you, I said. She thought I'd freeze, Lily replied. Or bleed. A new sound entered my awareness then. The soft electronic chirp I couldn't place. Lily shifted, winced, and looked at me. Mom, she said carefully. I think they're tracking your car. The words settled like a weight. I didn't answer. I turned onto a side road, pulled beneath bare trees, and cut the engine. I grabbed the flashlight from the glove box and slid under the frame. It took seconds. A small black device. Clean. Recently installed. I ripped it free and set it on the ground like something alive. Then I made the call I'd been avoiding. He answered on the second ring. I need you, I said. No questions. Where are you? On my way home. Lily is with me. She's hurt. A pause. Then, I'm coming. Turn your phone off. When I put the battery aside and helped Lily back into the car, my house stopped being a home. It became a line in the sand. And I knew, with a calm that scared me more than fear ever had, that this was no longer about getting through the night. It was about what came after. By the time we reached home, the night had swallowed the roads. The house felt different, smaller somehow. Not because of walls or furniture, but because I knew it wasn't a refuge anymore. Lily's injuries were real, her fear palpable, and the world outside had already decided she was disposable. I set her on the couch, covered her with a blanket, and took a deep breath. Every instinct told me to call the police, to let professionals handle this. Every other instinct, the one I trusted more, told me to wait, to gather, to understand. Lily's hand found mine. I collected everything, she said quietly. Her eyes, red-rimmed but sharp, held a calm I envied. Financial records. Transfers. Shell companies. Hidden accounts. Everything is on my phone. I felt the first pulse of hope, but it was measured. Hope without control is dangerous. Show me, I said. She handed me the device. Names I recognized and names I didn't. Accounts routed through non-existent offices, dead men as signatories, corporations that only existed on paper. Each entry was a finger pointing at one truth. They thought themselves untouchable. They don't just take money, Lily said, her voice shaking but controlled. They cover it. They hide it. They silence anyone who notices. I nodded, absorbing it all. Years of experience in healthcare had taught me to see patterns. Years of watching people in authority had taught me to see motives. Now both were converging on the same reality. We were in a system built to erase people like us. Mom, Lily whispered, there's more. Margaret didn't just steal. She tracked us. I frowned. She explained how the tracker on my car had been planted months ago, disguised as part of routine service. Family helps family, I had thought. Grace, you are naive, my grandfather's voice would have said. Some family destroys under the guise of care. I removed the device carefully, setting it aside, and told Lily to rest. You stay on the couch. Don't move unless necessary. Understand? She nodded. Her hand lingered on mine, hesitant, almost apologetic for needing protection. I made the call. Daniel, I said. My older brother answered immediately. No surprise. No questions. I need you. Lily is hurt, and we're not safe. Where? He asked. On my way home. She's with me. Turn off your phone after this. He didn't hesitate. He never does. Military. Security. Strategy. The kind of man who understands that sometimes the fastest solution isn't the one people expect. By the time Daniel arrived, I had already cleared the house of anything that could be traced. Burner phones, offline laptops, secure communication channels. Lily rested under blankets, exhausted, her face pale but alive. We left by dawn, taking the long way to the old cabin my grandfather once used. No road signs. No neighbors. Just a trail through dense trees to a frozen lake that no one visited anymore. The cabin was cold and dusty, but it was safe. Daniel checked every perimeter. I focused on Lily, tending her wounds with methodical care. Splints, cleaning, monitoring breathing. Then came the discovery that changed everything again. Lily was pregnant. The room went still. Not with fear, not with shock, but with the understanding that stakes had just risen. This wasn't just about survival. It was about leverage. Daniel set up the workspace. Burner laptops. Offline backups. Contacts who owed favors. People like her don't fear accusations, he said. They fear proof. Clear, undeniable proof. By nightfall, the picture was precise. Margaret Holloway wasn't simply hiding money. She was siphoning millions through shell companies and moving them offshore. She had built a fortress of legality and reputation, the kind that leaves investigators exhausted and witnesses silenced. Then Daniel showed us the second layer, Margaret's double life. A long-term affair, discreet and meticulously documented, private flights, hotel stays, a shared foreign account. Nothing public, everything traceable. Lily's eyes widened. She preached morality, she said. Family values, honor, reputation. All lies. I understood. This wasn't about ruining someone. This was about predictability. People act differently when their carefully built facade starts to crack. Daniel looked at us steadily. Her husband doesn't know. If he finds out, he'll protect the empire, not her. That's leverage. And suddenly the plan became clear. We didn't need fury. We didn't need confrontation. We needed precision. For the first time since the woods, I felt something other than fear. Control. Power. Choice. We were no longer reacting. We were setting the board, deciding the moves. Lily slept intermittently, each breath measured, each movement cautious. I watched her, aware that every second mattered. Every action we would take had to be clean, deliberate, and undeniable. By the second night, Daniel had connected the dots. Margaret's network, her methods, her reliance on reputation over reality, it all pointed to one truth. People who think themselves untouchable can be made predictable. And when they are predictable, they can be exposed without a public war. I realized that night that the fight was no longer about hiding. It was about choosing when, where, and how to strike. And every step we had taken, every careful move, every quiet decision, had brought us to that exact point. We were no longer prey. We were the hunters. The cabin sat frozen in a pocket of woods that no one remembered. Dust motes floated in the early morning light, settling on the furniture, on the tools, on the floors that hadn't been walked for years. To anyone else, it was abandoned. To us, it was a fortress. Daniel moved with quiet purpose, checking windows, marking sightlines, scanning perimeter paths. Everything deliberate. Everything calm. I focused on Lily. She woke in short intervals, pain still etched on her face, but the fear had begun to shift. Less survival panic, more clarity. Once she was able to speak, she revealed everything Margaret had tried to hide. She didn't care if I got caught. She thought the money and reputation would protect her. She thought no one would ever notice the small gaps. Daniel spread the documents across the table. Transfers, dates, patterns. Not messy. Not desperate. Routine. Systematic. And deadly effective. She plans, Daniel said quietly. Everything is intentional. She won't stop because she doesn't act impulsively. I understood then that the power game had already started, and we were the pieces moving across the board. Lily placed a hand over her stomach, and the stakes rose further. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about a life that hadn't yet begun, a future someone wanted to control before it even existed. Police? I asked. Daniel shook his head. Not yet. They will get caught up in the system. Margaret knows how to manipulate it. We need a place she cannot control. A place where proof cannot be erased. Her husband, Richard Holloway. That was our leverage. We planned meticulously. Every call, every message, every step outside the cabin was monitored for risk. Daniel's contacts, people who owed him favors, experts who could retrieve information quietly, were activated. Nothing public. Nothing traceable. Only clean evidence, undeniable and precise. By the second night, we had the full picture. Margaret wasn't just skimming. She was siphoning millions through shell companies, hiding it offshore. But money alone wasn't enough. People like her survive audits, investigations, even public suspicion. Daniel leaned back and said something I'll never forget. Money embarrasses. Betrayal destroys. Then he revealed the second file. Margaret's double life. Private flights, hotel records, foreign accounts. An affair that had remained hidden in plain sight, shielded by reputation. Lily stared at the evidence. She preached morality, she whispered. Family values. Honor. All lies. We weren't trying to ruin her. We were trying to make her predictable. And once predictable, even a fortress built on silence can be exposed. Richard didn't know anything. Not the money. Not the affair. If he found out, he would act to protect the legacy, not Margaret. That was the leverage we needed. Daniel set the plan. Clean, undeniable proof presented to Richard in a public setting where Margaret could not intervene. No threats. No begging. No emotional outburst. Just facts. The day arrived. A diner in the city center, bright and filled with witnesses, cameras, and the kind of chaos that makes people act carefully. We arrived separately. Daniel first, commanding the room without a word. I followed. Richard Holloway was already there. Tall, composed, the kind of man who controlled the energy of a room by presence alone. You sent me documents, he said without preamble. You claim your wife attacked your daughter? I placed the photos, the medical records, the financial documents, and the hotel records before him. No commentary. No emotion. This is my daughter, I said. She is carrying your grandchild. Something shifted in his expression. Subtle. Calculated. He leaned forward slightly, listening as Daniel played the recordings of Margaret's own words. Lily's voice, calm but trembling with truth, filled the space between us. Richard didn't interrupt. He didn't react. He observed. He processed. He understood. Then Daniel slid the second folder toward him. Financial records. Offshore accounts. Shell companies. Everything that proved she had been living a lie under the guise of charity and family. Richard flipped through the pages slowly, methodically. I placed the last envelope in front of him. Photos, hotel records, bank statements, proof that could not be denied. How much do you want? He asked. I leaned forward. Nothing. We want safety. Divorce. Permanently removed from our lives. Silence. Then a single nod. I will handle her. You will not hear from her again. Daniel extended his hand. Richard shook it. That was it. No drama. No public spectacle. Just consequence. Margaret's public life began unraveling within days. Boards removed her name. Photos disappeared. Donations quietly refunded. Audits commenced. No press, no scandal, no trial. Just a woman who had been too clever for her own good, now rendered predictable and powerless. Lily's divorce papers arrived less than a week later. Clean. Final. No arguments, no haggling. Richard Holloway kept his word. No late-night calls. No threats. No interference. For the first time since the woods, Lily slept without waking in terror. We had chosen the place, chosen the terms, and chosen the outcome. Control had shifted. Power had a new face. I watched her by the window, her hand protectively resting over her stomach, the other holding a warm mug. The bruises faded. The weight of fear lifted. She wasn't apologizing for living anymore. She wasn't shrinking. She wasn't invisible. I realized something profound. Victory isn't always public. Justice doesn't need sirens. Sometimes the greatest revenge is quiet, precise, and unassailable. And that night, in the cabin that had become our command post, I understood that calm and preparation can outlast rage. That strategy outlives panic. That silence, when wielded with precision, is more powerful than noise. Spring arrived quietly, the way real change always does. No announcements. No witnesses. Just snow thinning into water, trees relearning how to breathe, and a life slowly returning to something that felt possible again. Margaret never came back. Officially, she took time away for medical treatment overseas. Unofficially, she vanished. Her name was removed from boards. Her image disappeared from websites. Donations were refunded without explanation. Audits happened without headlines. No trials. No statements. Just consequences delivered without spectacle. People like her don't fear exposure. They fear erasure. Lily's divorce was finalized within days. Clean. Generous. Final. No negotiations. No attempts to contact us. Richard Holloway kept his word, not out of kindness, but out of understanding. Men like him don't forgive threats to legacy, and they don't make the same mistake twice. Most importantly, no one came looking for my daughter. For the first time since the woods, Lily slept through the night. No gasping. No jolting awake. No hands clutching for reassurance. I watched her one morning at the cabin window, sunlight touching the bruises that were finally fading. One hand rested protectively over her stomach. That was when the weight in my chest finally loosened. Lily gave birth on a quiet morning in early summer. No drama. No chaos. Just steady breathing, strong cries, and a baby girl placed gently into my arms. She was perfect in the way only newborns are, furious, alive, undeniable. They named her Nora. Not after wealth. Not after power. Just a name that felt grounded. Ours. Lily kept her last name. That decision alone told me how much she had changed. She wasn't asking permission anymore. She wasn't shrinking herself to fit inside someone else's story. We moved into a small house near the edge of town. Close enough for doctors and schools. Far enough for peace. Lily worked from home. I helped with the baby. Life became quiet again, but this time, it was a chosen quiet. One afternoon, as I rocked Nora to sleep, Lily watched from the doorway. I used to think strength meant never needing help, she said softly. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. And now? I asked. Now I know strength is knowing when to ask, she said. And knowing when to walk away. That was the real victory. Not the divorce. Not the money. Not even the truth coming out. Freedom. People often ask me how I found the strength to do what I did. They expect words like courage or revenge. But the truth is simpler than that. I am a mother who refused to let her child be erased. I didn't win because I was louder. I didn't survive because I was braver. I survived because I stayed calm when panic was expected. I listened when others would have shouted. I prepared when others would have begged. That is what real power looks like in ordinary lives. Toxic families don't always scream. Sometimes they smile. They donate. They shake hands and take photos while quietly destroying anyone who threatens their control. If something in your life feels wrong, trust that feeling. Watch patterns, not promises. Pay attention to actions, not apologies. You do not owe silence to people who hurt you. You do not owe loyalty to people who see you as disposable. Protecting yourself is not revenge. Protecting your child is not cruelty. Walking away from abuse is not weakness. It is clarity. As for me, I return to my garden, my quiet mornings, my ordinary days. But I am no longer the woman who answered that phone call. I know now exactly how far I will go for the people I love. And if this story stayed with you, if it reminded you of someone who needs strength or clarity, subscribe, share it with them, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Because sometimes the greatest revenge is not destruction, it's living free.